So today is the 25th of April, and I'm talking to Theodoros. We're going to talk mostly about art, music, dancing, singing, emotions. So stay tuned. You can ask questions, and we're going to try to answer you. So here we go.
Hello,
Hey, Theodore.
how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. I've been fine too.
Great, great, great. I love the hairstyle. I
I
think the little thing you're
was
doing, you just
I finished shower and then my hair didn't go dry, so I did the best I could.
yeah. All right. Awesome. 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 The painting at behind you, that's also great.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks,
like
man. Actually, it's not a
it's
painter,
like
it's a speaker, but it looks so real. So
uh, yeah,
yeah, because I live
it
in a
looks great,
basement.
man. It looks great.
Yeah, I live in a basement,
Uh-huh.
and it makes it more alive, more kind of the outside world.
Yeah, of course it does. And how was your day? What did you do today?
I've been fine. Today I had a lot of classes, theater classes, music
Yeah.
theater classes. uh, which
Uh-huh.
I give the classes in Zoom application,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
more or less I didn't go outside at all. But
Yeah.
it's nice, it's peaceful. How about yours?
My day was fine. I went to work, came back 3 p.m. and I did some laundry, took a shower, ate some food, took a nap, and then I'm talking to you right now. So that's how the day has been. It's quite
Mhm.
like this, you know. I mean, right now, everything you're doing is not stable, you know. It's kind of unbalanced because
Mhm.
you prepare certain things to do, but everything that you're doing right now is simply because of the situation. So we are in a mix, you know, we are kind of in a mix right now. Everyone is just in the mix. So how do
It's
you
like
deal with it? I mean,
it's what you said. It's like we improvise every day. We have to improvise on what's next, and we can
yeah,
either do a program and follow the schedule, or we
yeah,
can just like do whatever. I mean, go with the flow. Go wake up and decide on what you should do next.
yeah,
I mean, for the people especially that um, is altered, for
yeah.
sure it's a big change.
Okay, great. You said you were on Zoom today. It's like, okay, right now you're doing online classes on Zoom about
Exactly.
theater dance,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So as soon as the schools had closed two
Yeah,
months ago, the decision was that every school should close, like dance schools, theater schools, so whatever like makes people come together.
yeah.
And soon after, 1 week or 2 weeks later, it was decided by most schools that we shouldn't stop this year's program, and we should find ways to continue and
Mm-hmm.
keep the people, and especially if it has to do with children, let's keep them busy doing something creative, and um, so that it's good for them and it's good for the teachers too, that they can work and like make their living even
Yeah,
this
yeah,
way.
yeah, this way. And you went, I mean, you went into theater dancing. How did it happen? I mean, was it something you started doing when you were young? You started dancing and singing, you know, with all these moves? Or
Yeah.
how did it happen?
Well, it had always been a hobby in my life.
Yeah.
Um, Dance and theater, but then at a point I decided that I want to do it more professionally. I
Yeah.
wanted to. I didn't think of the profession. I mostly thought of how can I become better in those arts. How can I gain more knowledge?
Yeah.
Um, the best way was to go and study and
Yeah.
practice in those arts to the most I could. Because if you do it professionally, then if you study theater, then of course you have many hours of reading and
Yeah.
rehearsing. So it's a
Hmm.
procedure that, first of all, it's changing you. It's not
Yeah.
only about the profession you're going to do after school.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you put more hours in practice, like, dancing in the theater or reading? Where do you put more hours?
Well, it depends on every sector has its difficulty. So it depends on where do you spot the difficulty in every situation. For example,
Uh-huh.
if you have to teach dance, it depends on the class. It depends on the level of the pupils in every class. And if it's concerning me, I always have to try to find my weaknesses and work on them.
Yeah.
And uh, there are always things to learn. I mean, a great actor, uh, the most accomplished actor in the world, I'm sure he's going to tell you that he still explores and develops his skills. It's
Yeah.
a non-ending process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because it's like energy is infinite. It doesn't end. So long as you keep exploiting yourself and you keep trying to push yourself to learn certain skills, it doesn't end because no matter how you try to say, okay, now I am able to do this, so I don't need anymore to study what I am doing, and then you fail, because whatever thing if you're an actor or you're a dancer or you're a singer, you always make mistakes. You always make
Mhm,
mistakes.
mhm.
But
Of course.
when it comes to musical theater, I mean, on stage you're acting, you're dancing, you're singing, right?
Mhm, exactly.
How do you manage to put all of this together?
Yes, exactly. This is the biggest thing that you have to accomplish
Yeah,
in musical theater is how to coordinate yourself to be able to do all these three arts at the same time or separately. It depends on the song. It depends on the play or the film. So
yeah,
there's always um, this the spirit that you have to coordinate yourself so that you learn how these arts can be combined together. And for sure, you have to know your weaknesses too. There are many musical theater performers that they may be better in dance or better in singing or better in acting. So yes, it depends on the level of your experience as well.
yeah,
Plays an important role. But for sure, the studies at school they give you. I mean, at the musical theater school, they always have to give you the tools
yeah,
in every one of those three arts separately, or and then how you put them together.
yeah. So you study all of them separately, and then I mean, you also write, right? You also write scripts,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Drama, and when it also comes to musical theater, you also write scripts. So when you're writing a script, is it a story? Is it prose? Is it poetry? Is it drama? What kind of script are you writing? What kind of story do you write?
In musical theater, or you mean, or personally, what do I like? What I like to write?
No, I mean in musical theater, when you're writing a script and then you have to act on that script on stage.
Mhm.
What is the story? What kind of story are you writing about?
Well, it can be any kind of story. There are so many musicals that they're they can be biographical and they're based on real people's lives. There are musical theaters that they used to be plays, and then they became musicals. We have books. For example, we have Les Miserables from Victor Hugo. It's one of the most like important books in literature, in history of literature, and
Yeah.
we've seen that the book has become a play through the years, and then it's become a musical theater. So it
Mm-hmm.
depends. Modern like writers, they can be like they can write like script from news stories. Now, for example, before it was more like frequent that they adapted like many um, from fairy tales
Mm-hmm.
like
Love
to
stories.
create stories, known stories. And now we've seen that the new creators are investing a lot in the original, like writing new stories.
Mm-hmm. And the plays, I mean, the plays that you have been involved in that on stage, because I know you traveled to China, to Shanghai, to do
Mhm.
a play on stage. What was it about? How did
Yeah.
you feel like? Was it? I mean, was it sort of like the first time you had to perform out of your country, or it wasn't?
Mhm. First of all, I studied in Athens,
Yeah,
I've taken part in many performances in Athens.
yeah,
So for us, although we're Greek, it's another country. So yes, you can say that I've worked in other countries too.
yeah.
But yes, last year I was given the chance, a great chance to work on a musical that traveled and participated in the international Shanghai Arts Festival. And so a Cypriot writer, wrote about Stella Oscaridou. She wrote a story where she took many classic Cypriot fairy tales
Yeah,
and she combined them together and she wrote a very nice script.
yeah,
Um, uh, and we took like original Cypriot traditional songs.
hmm,
Um, and the lyricist Stavros Stavro, um, he wrote his lyrics, that he changed the lyrics and he wrote the original lyrics concerning the story of the plot. And then we had a great musician
hmm,
that he made the instrumentation. And so we did the rehearsals in Cyprus. And the target was to present Cyprus somehow artistically
hmm,
in a market like China, huge market. And it was interesting to see
yeah,
how your culture reflects, which is so different and so distant, but at the same time, you can find similarities um, in some other ways.
yeah.
But yes, it was so really interesting. One of the best experiences I've had.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult to travel um, with art. It's difficult mostly because of the language. Language, it is a barrier, and firstly because Greek language is spoken only in Cyprus and Greece, and by some parishes like Greek people living around the world, and Cypriot. So it is a barrier, and it's difficult to find ways to involve in artistic environments away from home, because you have to perform in English if you want to do that, or in any other language if you are not a native. And if you're not a native, then you have to work a lot with the accent so that you can present the characters in
Yeah.
a, for example, let's say an English audience,
Yeah.
English talking audience. You have to be convincing as if you're not a Cypriot, a Greek native speaker talking in a different language.
Yeah. Whenever I'm watching musical theater, it's like the props on stage. There are never like in movies. You know, in movies you will see um, in a single house. There's everything. There's the kitchen. There's a salon. You have the rooms. You have the front yard. You have the balcony and everything. But in musical theater, you have maybe just three props right
Mhm.
there. Maybe you have a single chair. You have a table, and you have a curtain. But
Mhm.
you're able to like you're able to bring the audience and make them feel like this is
Mhm.
a house by the way
Well,
by the way you introduce yourself, and by the way you're dancing around and turning and then singing at the same time.
mhm. Well, I would say that musical theater, firstly, uh, it's not strictly a realistic form of theater because realism in theater or naturalism it implies that everything that's happening it's happening that moment and it's real.
Yeah,
Like you watch live through a microscope or through like through an open door. Musical theater, there is this there are those elements that make it closer to the surrealism form. And this is music and dance. So in real
yeah,
life, people won't sing and dance in the streets while they go to work or while they're cooking. And musical theater, things and story can be told also in dance and singing. So it's like partly it's like being in a different world, in a world where singing and dance are part of real life,
yeah,
um, and they're performed fully out. It's not like you dance in your room, but you dance with 10 dancers, or you are on one of those 10 dancers. So yes, musical theater is it's a surrealistic form of theater. Other than that, um, there are it depends on the direction. So you can find a lot of realistically sceneries, realistic sceneries, like you get plays, and that happens also in theater, in prose theater, like not only in musical theater, but in general in theater. There are many plays that they can use realistically the props and the sceneries, and there are it's an option. I mean, the director can decide that everything is supposed to exist, but it's
yeah,
not visible. For example, I'm now drinking a cup of tea, and
yeah,
I'm now brushing my teeth, and I'm holding nothing. So there are many ways to tell a story, and
yeah,
there are many reasons why you want to choose to not show the real sceneries or the real props. For example, it
yeah,
can be one of the reasons can be that you want the imagination of the viewers to work, and one other reason is that it's the lack of money. So it's easy to create something out of nothing, and then yes, if it's difficult to buy and create sceneries and props, it's one of the solutions would be to not have them.
yeah. And also I think it also has to do with portraying an idealistic world to the viewers, to those who come to watch this theater, that there can be a world where movement and sound go together,
Mhm.
you know, as I mean, as you're on stage, let's say the stage that you're on, this platform is the space that you live in. So this space that you live in, everything that you're doing, if you're washing dishes, you're singing at the same time
Mhm.
and you're
Mhm.
turning around them. If you want to sit down, you sing a little song and then you sit down. So
Mhm.
it has to do with beauty, the beauty of sound. Just like when you wake up in the morning, you you can listen to birds chirping. It's
Hmm.
beauty. I mean, it's beautiful because that particular moment in the morning, you just woke up from a long sleep
Hmm. Hmm.
and you listen to this bird singing. So this is how I kind of also see like musical theater, you know,
Yeah.
portraying an idealistic world where sound and movement go together
Hmm.
without without necessarily having to work yourself a lot to survive or
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
live and to exist or to prove that you exist or to chase, you know, fame. And I mean, a society where there are not a lot of superficial things that we have today, like celebrities, you know, movies, this movie is superficial thing that we have. So it's kind of portrayed like an idealistic society with just basic natural things that are kind of what our instincts follow,
Hmm.
which are movements, emotions, love, and beauty. So, I mean, whenever you sit and because I know in your imagination, you're always like thinking how you can escape this reality. So you want to put it in your art, you know, in your creativity. So
Hmm.
whenever you're writing, is it like you write mostly about like, you know, romance, it could be love, it could be violence. You write about everything, right?
Hmm. Of course, this depends on the life experience that yeah, if we're talking about the author that and the writer, the theater writer, um, of course, depending on the experience and the life experiences he has, and on what triggers him to do
Yeah.
that. Um, for sure, someone's personality is can be very much written on a paper. You can read someone's um, like soul while you read something, even though he may tell a story about somebody else or other people. For sure, everything that you write it filters through your eyes, and the same happens in every art, I think. Yeah, and the same happens for in acting too. So you collect your personal experiences, and that's why you see actors that can be better in comedy, better in drama,
Yeah.
good good in both. So I don't think, for example, that it's easy for someone to um, to not have a sense of humor and then be a great actor. It doesn't matter what I mean. It doesn't mean that he's a funny person, that his life is funny and he acts always funny. But it's for sure he's able to understand like what makes something being funny, and the same happens in writing. Um, we there are plays that are great because they are talking about things in such a unique way that you get attached, and if the audience gets attached and gets identified with what he they see on stage, then it's a success.
Hmm.
And the most they get attached, um, the better it's for the play. And through the years, we've seen that many plays have have they have survived, and that's how we say that's why we say um, about we speak about the great and big art authors, theater writers, the dramatists,
Hmm.
and that their plays are always through the time important and
Hmm.
can play. You can make a performance, Shakespeare's play performance, 100 years ago and 100 years, I think, I reckon, from now and on, it will still be as important.
Yeah. And Shakespeare's play, I mean, these plays were performed 100 years ago, 200 years ago. This is when, you know, art was like a day-to-day life thing. People were rushing to go and watch, to go to theaters to look at this beauty, to look at people. act and dance and sing at the same time. It isn't
Mhm.
like today we just sit home and then we get all the entertainment out of our phones and from the TV. No, there were people were just moving into theaters. You know, they could pay any amount of money to buy tickets to go and watch
Mhm.
some a bunch of people just sit on a platform with a table and a single chair and maybe a fictional tree inside and just act something. It was interesting. It was so interesting back then. But right now we don't have this thing again. How come
Mhm.
like how come this fell down? I mean, how did it drop? Is it like interest? Is it because of interest? People who are interested in this um, kind of art, we don't have them anymore, or is it like change of what we think um, should please us? How we think about entertainment?
We're not talking about people not attending to theaters because of the COVID-19, right? We're talking about generally, even
Yeah,
before.
generally, yeah, yeah. How it changes in the
Um,
past 200 years.
mhm. Well, there are many opinions about that, and it differs from country to country and from society to society, and even within a country, from a city to a village, and from a city to another city. So, yes, art was always um, uh, concerning people. Art was always like making people follow and learn and feel through it. I would say that, um, for example, in Cyprus, yes, I can say I can be honest and say that the audience is still quite immature.
Yeah.
Not all the audience. I mean, no, the audience is mature, but the audience is not big. Let's uh, let's be more specific. So you can see thousands of people prefer to go to entertain themselves in a club, at a bar, and that's good. I mean, I also do it. And you see only a few hundreds of people supporting the arts and watching theater, while the same time you don't have this decrease, this small audience in for like in TV.
Mhm.
For example, everybody has most of the people now have Netflix. They're watching movies. The cinemas, they're full. I mean, other than now. Before the COVID, it was still popular. Um, and we see that people don't care that much about theater and about live performance.
Mhm.
Um, we can um, we can read the reasons in different, like everybody can read it in different way. And I think that many statistics have been made for that.
Mhm.
I would say that for sure technology has brought an evolution, good and bad. Um, it has given the access to people to watch everything they want through a box, through a screen. Now you can access not only in cinema, you can even access and watch theater plays that have happened in the past through the screen. The same has happened with human relations. Um, People don't meet that much anymore. Neighborhoods, like the neighbors, don't go that easy to each other houses.
Mhm.
Um, in Cyprus, like the old women used to go for coffee and sit together
Yeah.
outside in the yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
They wouldn't even have, they wouldn't even ask for permission to go at someone's house. They just knocked at the door and it was that simple. And you just open and you welcome someone. So yes, the isolation, I think, it was long before the COVID-19.
Yeah.
And as we said as a poem that everybody shares now lately, people healed So let's hope that this is another opportunity to heal at some point and realize and being conscious of all those things we discussed now. Because being there and watching a performance live is very much similar to drinking a coffee with your friend, or drinking the coffee at your house and talking the phone with your friend.
Yeah.
So the comparison and the balance is very similar. Nothing can replace being there, presence.
Yeah, physically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People have senses, and there are many more senses getting satisfied by being there rather than living everything through a screen, which for sure I'm not implying that it's bad or it's not, it can't be like also a useful experience, but it's less more than being there.
Yeah, being in the screen. Because, I mean, being in the screen, we are only able to transmit the message we want to transmit much faster and clearer and visually, but it is still in a box. So my emotion cannot go through this screen right now and and get to you. But unless I say something that that resonates with you, and then you smile and then you understand it, but still it does not fully give that effect of if you were close to me. That, I
Exactly.
mean, there is a transmission with someone. Let's say your lover. You guys are together. Whenever you sit alone in your room, both of you, the way you talk and how you are close to each other and how you hold each other, you feel the warmth that you feel, is
Mhm.
so different from when we
Mhm.
are conversing through the phone. You're conversing with your lover through the phone if they are in some other distant country. You do not feel the same warmth rather than when you guys are close and then you're touching each other and feeling each other and hugging and kissing. There is more warmth in that. You feel that energy, arising. And this is the thing, but I think it also has to do with with modernism, because the more we are getting modernized and advancing and evolving and adding surplus things such as this platform that we call social media and technology, it is also taking away that subtle connection, like the roots of a tree and the tree itself. The tree
Mhm.
cannot do without its roots. It needs its
Mhm.
roots
That's
just as much as it needs its leaves, right? So it
Mhm.
needs everything to be together to function. But if you
Exactly.
put, yeah, if you take a glass or a mirror and you put on top of the tree where the leaves are, and the sun is not able to get to the trees are going to fall because you
Mhm.
have a glass covering them from the source, from
Mhm.
particular specific kind of energy that they have to receive, because they are sentient beings. Just as we were talking about it yesterday, they are sentient beings, and as sentient beings, you cannot transmit anything that has to do with energy through a phone.
Mhm.
No. Of course, there are messages that you can transmit through this microscopic thing we are holding in our hands right now, but it does not fully give you that warmness, that understanding that this is how I feel about you, or this is how I want to watch this movie and feel about this movie. Rather than if I am in a theater and I'm looking at you doing it live, I feel different because
Mhm.
I am looking at you singing and turning around and holding a young lady. You know how it goes in the movie, in the musical theater. So there's just this huge difference right now that we are going. It's like we are. I think we are going backward rather than forward. We are
Mhm.
taking away a lot of things. So
Mhm.
this is how it is.
That's very true. That's very true. And I would say that um, it's very good that we mentioned those things because it's something that it concerns me a lot. and it's something that is it's good to raise awareness, especially as teaching
Mm-hmm.
young people and adults and like children especially. And I'm seeing all this huge gap from my generation and to the younger generation and younger generations. I mean the ones that now are 6 and 5 and 10 and even 16. How technology has affected their lives, and it's dramatically for worse. It's for worse for sure. The kids don't play as much. The kids don't play in the gardens and in the yards. I understand the reasons. There are many security questions. Um, the same happens with people, to be honest. Like people are afraid of each other. People don't have time, and time is it's a big topic to talk about, because now we have time. Now we do have time, and now we suddenly found out that we don't know what to do with that time, because we
Yeah.
never imagined our lives with time. Um, and I believe that yes, technology has brought huge like advantages in people's lives, and of course, nobody can suggest that we should go back and undo technology. Now we're talking using technology, but I'm sure that very fast and in the very near future, we will see many changes concerning technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that already many studies and researchers have found out that uh, people, the more they get involved with social media, for example, the more depressed they get. There is a
Yeah.
correlation between those two. And the
Mm-hmm.
people that spend most of the time away in real life, as we say, they tend to be more happy. And I'm sure that this will raise many questions, and there will be some decisions around the countries about like how can you help the emotional state of people? How can you help the uh, children develop away from all this bad influence and interaction with media? So
Yeah.
art, to go back to the arts, the arts are a way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. To be creative, right? To be spontaneous, to try to impact. I mean, we are sitting right now in isolation, and what are we thinking about? What is our imagination? Um, what is projecting in our mind and in our consciousness? What kind of things are we right? Are we home right now and still worried about work that we are not even working, or are we still home right now and then thinking about the things that we we ought to buy, that we want to buy still in the future, rather than
Mhm.
creating something? All right, we have a question for you here, Theo from Eleni. Theo, as an artist, how do you see the future of theater in Cyprus in the next
Mhm.
years?
Hello, Eleni. I want to see who. That's nice. Hello, Eleni. Thank you for following us. Well, that's a great question. I can't be that positive. I always think positive, and I'm a pessimistic. I would say that I'm a pessimistic person. Uh, well, the COVID-19 has proved many dysfunctions that we didn't want to see, or we saw when we didn't discuss to the level we had.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize now that being an artist is not a profession. It should be, or it shouldn't be. I don't know. I'm saying that it should be. profession, and it is a profession. But reality has shown that it's so difficult to survive being an artist, especially in a country or in countries where they don't support the artists as much. They cut them out from the subsidies, the government subsidies for helping people through that. So all those artists that whose lives were depend on their art, now they're just not paid and have to go on and survive without having any income. For sure, this shows that in every crisis, in whatever happens, they are the first to suffer from it, economically at least. The future can be positive if we take that as a chance to convince governments to give like more benefits, the basic benefits actually, for someone to live, to every profession that is related to art. Secondly, we still have a lot to do with bringing people in Cyprus. I can only talk about Cyprus because I am aware of what's happening in many countries around the world, and for sure there are many countries that are behind in this section, in this like art world. But in Cyprus, compared to any other European country, to most other European countries, it's still a lot behind. We have to build an audience. We have to build an audience that wants to watch theater, that wants to follow the arts. We want to see the theaters being full, and the actors and the singers. For example, there are so many things to still solve. Let's say that the actors more or less can find a work, can be a part of the performance a few times per year.
Yeah.
Because those ones that can have full-time job, they're very lucky, but they're not the majority.
Yeah.
But what about the opera singers? What about the dancers? And I'm not talking about special forms of arts. I'm not talking about arts that they're not so common, but we're talking about opera. We're talking about ballet. In a country that doesn't have any national opera house. So being a dancer or a classical trained singer in Cyprus, it means that you are unemployed, because there isn't any organization, national organization, that can employ these people. And of course, if you don't give opera to your audience, to your people as a country, of course they wouldn't go, because they don't know what opera is, and they don't know what ballet is. Those forms of arts, they have been developed centuries ago in the West world, and I think it is a big matter that here we don't have it. The same applies with acting and theater. I mean, if we want to call it a profession, then we'll have to protest. We have to demand this profession to be seen as a profession by the government.
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned that in the past, let's say 200 years ago, when I mean before the Pablo Picasso, his era, before all the artists that came before his era, you had Michelangelo, you had these people who were painting the Sistine Chapel. All right, these people they were not as the society back then was not as rich as we are rich right now, and you know the means of the means they use to create art was very slow, and they did not have a lot of equipments like we do have right now. But they were able to create so much beauty. I mean, people are traveling. People go to Greece. People are going to Spain, to Italy, to look at all these cathedrals and these paintings. But then, right now, we are able, and we have stores that sell equipments for very cheap prices. We have stores that sell things for €1. You know, we have stores that sell paintings or brushes for €1. We have the stores, but still we are not investing in this. We are not looking at this possibility that we are living in a times when, even though things are difficult and there are no jobs, but still the equipments that we can use to create beauty and art, they are cheap. When you look at 200 years ago, how did they build these cathedrals? How did they paint it? I mean, how did Michelangelo paint the Pope's house? How did he paint the ceiling so beautiful? How did he do it? That after 100 years, you can still go there and you will still see this beauty. It's still there. It's still standing right there. And right now, we are not creating anything in terms of our music, our architecture. It is not going to last. I mean, it cannot last as much as the ones that were 100 years ago. They're always dilapidating, always falling, you know. So how is this happening?
That's a great thing. That's a great question. It's a great topic what you started now. Well, as you said, history shows that the more limited, the limitations you have, the more creative you can be. It's like having a table full of food and you don't know what do you want to eat. It's the same thing. All those comforts and luxuries that people have access to, they can be preventive from at a point. They can be preventive for giving you the sparkle to create a safe life, a perfect life. Like it's great, it's good, but at many times it doesn't make people having to invent, having to think, having to get out of their comfort zones and their misery, let's say. That's why we see great, for example, great Greek composers that wrote about poverty and like hard times in life, because art brings you closer to your inner world. So if you have everything, you have no reason to access this inner world. I'm not saying it's a rule, and I don't want to be absolute, but for sure, time is important too. And being creative, it has to do also with time. Back then, not only they didn't have the same, like for example, access to materials or money, but they also didn't have technology, which is supposed to help you a lot to make things faster, to make things easier, and to make things happen. Because imagine now we can build skyscrapers, but skyscrapers are an ugly spectacle to watch.
Yeah.
So money has won over beauty, I would say. We see the forests coming back and getting resurrected now after all all the factories and heavy industry closing because of the virus. I think it's the same thing. We need to appreciate what's given in nature and what's natural and what comes from inside, what comes from imagination. It's always better that what comes from aiming money or aiming to superficial needs.
Yeah.
And I think that this thing with isolation has given to a lot of people the push to create, and to others that they feel depressed and they feel not so good about the situation. It can be, and I guarantee that it can be also a great push to go on. And not only, let's see that as a chance to create, to start creating. Even the people that didn't create, didn't have the urge and the ability, or they thought they didn't have the ability to do arts. And I'm not saying, when I'm saying arts, it's everything. Even how you paint something, and you paint your room, and how you want to decorate your room. This is an art. This is being creative. Art is not it's not only about being the artist. At the end of the day, everybody can be an artist himself.
Yeah.
What changes it to being a profession is that you do it professionally in front for somebody else and not for yourself. We have some questions, I think.
Yeah. From George, she says, why do you think it's important to study theater in school? How it supports education?
That's good. That's a very nice question. Thank you, Yorgo, for being part of the discussion. Well, from my experience and from what I read, from what I research about pedagogy and theater, it has many effects. It has so many effects that it could replace many of the other activities that children do at school, which are not that beneficiary, or it could be added. So let's start with how the human psychology and develops the emotional maturity in people. So the children, as they grow older, they want to play. They love to play. And let's discuss about what is playing. What does it mean play? I play. To its body, if we look at it closer, we can see that play means impersonating and mimicking something. So the children, for example, play. They pretend to be selling things. They pretend to be in Cyprus we say wolves and sheeps. This game that the kids run and they have to catch each other. They can play. The girls can play with the dolls. The boys they like to play with the cars, and they're like pretending to be someone else. They are using their voice, and they are like impersonating their parents. They do what their parents do, and their teachers. So we see that it's a natural. Nobody told them to do that. It's a natural urge in people. And why that doesn't happen? Kids try to understand the world. They try to be a part of this world. They try to understand society, professions, behaviors, the most important. And they do that by playing to be someone else. Research has shown that it's one of the most healthy things people are doing while they're growing up. Because in this way, they develop empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy is being able to understand other people's emotions. The same happens mostly for yourself. So you get to understand your own emotions by personating somebody else's emotions, by copying their behavior, by copying lines and speeches and walks.
Mm-hmm.
So gaining this understanding makes people more closer to their inner world and understanding the world and being a part of the world. So that's why you see many negative examples of people with prohibited behavior, like many studies have shown that one of the reasons that they became like let's say gangsters in their lives is because the empathy was not developed while they were raised up,
Mm-hmm.
and it has dramatic effects in people's psychology. They literally can't get in someone's shoes. They can't understand someone's um, emotions. So they also don't understand what does it mean to hurt other people's emotions. Yes, it helps a lot. Theater helps a lot for building this inner balance and making children express and uh, express their emotions, and also getting exposed. Getting exposed, it means to feel good about themselves in front of other people. It's something that we don't learn at school. It's something that
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
does to do it.
Yeah. Confidence. They don't teach you how to be confident,
Exactly.
right?
And that's
Yeah. They teach you how to
exactly.
like we go to school and we are taught just how to function in the system. You know, they don't teach us basic things like how to be confident, how to approach people, how to negotiate, how to communicate. No, we don't
Exactly.
learn these things, these basic things, or how to defend yourself, even when
Mhm, mhm,
if you're confronted with someone who is violent. They don't teach us these things. So when we grow up now, we tend to learn about all of this on our own. And then
mhm,
the schools, they just keep training. It's like they're training just guinea pigs, you know. They just keep making guinea pigs, and then we go into the system, and then when the system uses people, and then it dumbs them, and then you start going to be someone who has to earn a pension, and then you have to live the rest of your life after you've worked for about 40 years for somebody, and then when you're 60, that is when you want to travel. Why do you want to travel when you're 60, when you go on retirement? It's like, why you want to do this? But this is the system that we live in. This is how we have been taught how to be. So we don't have so much choice. So you also are doing acting. There are some movies that you took part in. How did you get involved with this? Because I watched an episode of these, and you were really awesome on that. What was
Thank you.
your what was your role in this?
Mhm, mhm. So yes, firstly, TV, it's not something that I ever dreamed of, to be sure, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was dreaming of the stage when I studied, and not even I was dreaming to gain knowledge and become a good artist, better artist. So everything came later. I'm not. I can't say that I have a big experience in front of the screen of the monitor, but
Mm-hmm.